Have you ever walked down Wall Street and wondered about the shadows cast by those towering skyscrapers? You're about to step into a past where these financial avenues were once paved with the echoes of shackles and whispers of freedom. Welcome to You Are History. Wall Street's modern image as a bustling epicenter of wealth and commerce belies its grim past. In the 17th century, what is now known as Wall Street was home to New York City's first official slave market, established by a 1711 law aimed at controlling the sale and exchange of slaves within the city. It was here, in this very place, that human beings were bought and sold, their value assessed in cold, hard cash. This market facilitated the slave trade that was integral to the colonial and early American economy, providing the labor that would build cities, work the land, and generate wealth for their owners. The profits from these inhumane transactions were reinvested into the growing American economy, laying the financial groundwork for many of the institutions that would later dominate Wall Street. The capital amassed through the slave trade helped finance ventures and infrastructure that spurred the growth of the American economy, including the nascent banking sector. The connection between slavery and finance was further cemented as slaves were used as collateral for loans and insurance policies, turning human lives into instruments of credit and speculation. The slave market may have closed long ago, but the wealth it generated helped to erect the financial institutions that still stand on Wall Street today. In the unyielding pursuit of profit, the roots of economic growth often intertwine with moral compromise. Insurance companies, pillars of security in our contemporary world, once regarded human beings as insurable assets. Firms like New York Life, which stand today as monuments to financial stability, have chapters in their histories written in the ink of slave policies. These contracts guaranteed slave owners a payout in the event of a slave's death, escape, or incapacitation, reducing the horrors of human bondage to a risk assessment. The premiums collected from these policies didn't just protect slaveholder wealth, they amassed fortunes at the cost of unspeakable human suffering. This accumulation of capital on the backs of the enslaved allowed such companies to climb to the zenith of the insurance world. Yet, this rise casts a long shadow over the ethical landscape of the past and presents an uncomfortable truth about the origins of institutional wealth. The complicity of banks in the institution of slavery is a matter of historical record. Financial institutions, particularly in the southern United States, issued loans to slaveholders, accepting slaves as collateral. When cotton became king, the value of slaves increased, making them even more attractive as collateral. Indeed, by the mid-19th century, slaves were the single largest financial asset in the entire American economy, with their value exceeding that of all the railroads and factories in the North combined. The use of slave-backed securities extended beyond loans. Banks in both the United States and abroad sold bonds to investors, which were secured by mortgages on slaves. Notably, the Second Bank of the United States, chartered in 1816, accepted slave mortgages as part of its collateral on loans. This practice became so widespread that by 1837, nearly half of the assets held by the New Orleans branch of the Second Bank of the United States were slave mortgages. Additionally, the New York Cotton Exchange, established in 1870, was the commercial epicenter for the cotton trade, which was inextricably linked to slave labor in the South. Banks played a crucial role in this exchange by financing the cotton trades and profiting from the fruits of enslaved labor. The iron rails that cross our nation were laid down through more than just physical toil. Railroad companies didn't just employ slaves, some owned them. These engines of progress were lubricated with the sweat and blood of the enslaved, a stark reminder that the paths to modernity were sometimes paved with oppression. When we marvel at the speed of our journeys today, let's not forget those who were forced to lay the tracks. Ivy-covered walls and towering spires of knowledge, universities like Harvard, Virginia, and Vanderbilt were not just institutions of learning, but also of owning. Yes, they owned slaves. The wealth and prestige that sparked generations of thought were partly ignited by the bondage of others. Education is about enlightenment, but that light casts a shadow. As these institutions teach us to look forward, they must also face their own past. From the financial district's slave markets to the Ivy League's historic halls, the specters of slavery linger. Thank you for joining this journey through time. If today's episode moved you, visit our channel for more stories that have shaped our world. Let's continue to explore the past, not to dwell, but to learn and to grow. Subscribe, share, and be a part of the history that is still being written.